Hey horror lovers, I'm Brent and welcome to the very first episode of the Midnight Post, a place where we dive into strange and chilling creepypastas that might just keep you up at night. Tonight's story begins in a quiet rural town in Pennsylvania. The narrator works at a small isolated gas station, one of those places where not much happens, and every day feels the same. Until something doesn't. And if you're new here, this channel isn't just about internet mysteries. I also want to bring in stories from books I read, dive into artist journeys, and explore the meaning behind songs that hit deeper than they seem. I work at a gas station in rural Pennsylvania. It's a boring job, but it's pretty easy and it pays alright. A few weeks ago, this new guy started. I'll call him Jeremy. Jeremy's weird. He's about 25 or 26, and he hardly speaks, but he's got the creepiest laugh I've ever heard. My boss and I have both noticed this, but it's never been a problem, so there's not much we can do about it. Customers have never complained about him, and he's always done his job fairly well. Up until a few weeks ago. Anyway, that's when things started going missing. Employee theft can be a problem at any business that sells consumer goods, and there's only one person working at a time at this gas station. It's a pretty small place. About 2 weeks ago, my boss started noticing that we were short on motor oil. At first, it was a few containers at a time, then entire shelves and boxes from the back room. Pretty soon, entire shipments will be gone the day after we got them, and it will always be right after Jeremy shifts. My boss has checked the security camera tapes from every single night he worked, but he could never catch him in the act. Jeremy will lock up at closing and the motor oil will be gone the next day. His boss usually takes the tapes home and watch them trying to catch Jeremy stealing, but his daughter had a softball game that night, so he asked our protagonist to watch the tapes and he would pay him overtime. There are 3 cameras, so he gave me 3 different tapes to check. I figured it would be a long night, but I'm trying to save up for vacation, so I really needed the money. I took the tapes home, popped them on an old VCR, and sat back. 2 days ago, the last time he worked, Jeremy started at 4 p.m. Everything seemed pretty normal at first. He counted up his drawer, switched it off with the girl who was working before him, and waited for a customer. The first person who came in was Mrs. Templeton. The timestamp on a video were at 4:03, a regular. She picked up her cigarettes and a newspaper and paid with a 20. Nothing unusual there. The next customer was some local guy named Ron. He drives a motorcycle, usually comes in every few days. He filled up his tank, got a bag of beef jerky, paid with his credit card, and then left. Next was some guy with a cowboy hat. I'd never seen him before, but we get plenty of strangers passing through, just like at any gas station. He got $40 worth of diesel fuel, paid with a $100 bill, and went on his way. I sat back inside. The only thing more boring than doing this job is watching someone else do it. Things stayed boring until about 5 o'clock. At 5:05, Mrs. Templeton came back in. She must have forgotten something. But she didn't. She bought the same pack of cigarettes as before and the same newspaper. She paid with another 20. That's odd, I thought, but then again, she's a little absent-minded. I thought Jeremy should have told her she already got her smokers, but it's not against the rules to sell somebody the same thing twice. That's when Ron came in again. He bought another tank of gas for his motorcycle again. I later checked the outdoor camera because I thought maybe he had another car he wanted to fill up. And the same pack of beef jerky. He paid with his credit card again. Anyone would think it was just a coincidence. But then the guy in the cowboy hat came back, and the protagonist started to whisper to himself, "Don't get diesel, don't get diesel." But he did. He got $40 worth of diesel fuel and paid with another $100 bill. Every move he made was identical to his first visit, right down to the way he scratched his nose before he walked out. Either this guy is rich, owns a lot of drugs, and just moved into town, or something really bizarre was happening. I kept watching. Every customer for the next hour was the same as before. Every single one. I was seriously freaked out. And then at 6:03, Mrs. Templeton walked back in. She bought her cigarettes and newspaper again, and pay with the 20 again. I thought I was going to lose it. I only watched another half hour before I start forwarding through the rest. It was all the same. Every customer would come in at the exact same times, exactly 1 hour apart. You might be thinking, he just looped the tapes with his first hour of work. But that wasn't the case. There are windows around the cash register area that the camera covers, and he could see the sunlight fade. And Jeremy also did all his duties as expected. It didn't loop. At the end, he locked up and left in his car. He hadn't stolen anything. But the protagonist kept watching just to make sure. At exactly 12:03, out of nowhere, Jeremy's face pops up on a camera. I don't mean he moved his head into view. I mean that 1 second the store was empty. The next second his face was all I could see. I imagine watching a tape and out of nowhere a face just appears on the screen. He wasn't looking at the camera, he was looking at me. I was sure of it. I screamed and fumbled for the remote. By the time I grabbed it, he was gone. Just as soon as he had left. One frame he was there, the next he wasn't. My hands was shaking like crazy, but I popped in another tape. The other indoor camera shows the back camera by the cash register, and I would be able to see how he got up to put his face on a camera like that. I skipped ahead to 12:03, but there was nothing. I would have been able to see him standing on a chair or something on his tape, but he wasn't there. I didn't see him enter the store at all after he left. It's like he wasn't really there. He doesn't know the security code, and no alarms were triggered that night after he locked up. What I did see, however, was that at 12:03, the motor oil vanished off the shelf. All of it. Same as Jeremy's face. 1 second it was there, the next it wasn't. So he turned the tape off and went to bed, although he didn't even blink. His boss asked him to bring the tapes back and tell him what he found. But what could he say? I work in a few hours. My boss asked me to bring the tapes back in and let him know what I found. But really, what the hell am I going to say? Jeremy works the night shift tonight, directly after me, and the plan is for my boss to come in just before I leave and confront him with me, as I'm supposed to be the one who caught him stealing. I have no idea what I'm going to do. I suppose I'll have to show my boss the tapes, but I don't want to watch them with him. I never want to see nothing like that again. I can't get the image of Jeremy just smiling direct into the camera out of my mind. It was the creepiest look I've ever seen on another human being's face. Anyway, I'm gonna try again to get some last minute sleep before I have to go in and deal with this. I'll let you guys know what happens. Update, 2:49 p.m. Updating for my phone. Apologies in advance for yours. My boss just finished watching the last tapes. I told him what to expect, but you really can't prepare someone for something like that. He's scared shitless, and I still am too, and Jeremy's due to come in at 4. We've got a little over an hour to get our shit together, but neither one of us knows what to say to him. Is he just a fucked up guy who likes to steal motor oil and scare the shit out of people, or something else? My boss said he never noticed nothing like that in the other tapes, but the way he popped up in this one made me think he knew I would be watching. It's like he wanted me to see what he could do, like he was showing off or something. The way he smiled into the camera was like a little kid showing you a sandcastle they just built or something. I don't know, I probably sound crazy. I sure feel the part. I'm going to talk to my boss some more. We'll have to calm ourselves down and figure out how to handle this. I'll update again tonight, but I have a really bad feeling about how this is going to play out. Update, 4:33 p.m. No sign of Jeremy. Try to call him, but his phone has been disconnected. We're calling the police. 5:33 p.m. No sign of Jeremy. Try to call him, but his phone has been disconnected. We're calling the police. 6:33 p.m. No sign of Jeremy. Try to call him, but his phone has been disconnected. We're calling the police. Update, 7:33 p.m. No sign of Jeremy. Try to call him, but his phone has been disconnected. We're calling the police. Update, 8:33 p.m. No sign of Jeremy. Try to call him, but his phone has been disconnected. We're calling the police. Update, 10:58 p.m. Holy shit, I just got home and saw my previous updates. Things make less sense now than never. Here's what I can tell you. I went to work, Jeremy never showed up. My boss and I decided to call the police, as you're well aware. When I picked up the phone to call though, the sun went out. I shit you not. That's what I thought happened. Apparently, I blacked out for exactly 5 hours because when I looked at the clock, it was 9:33. I think I got stuck in Jeremy's time loop, and then I snapped out of it at the exact point I black out, if that makes any sense. But that's when things got really weird. My boss was right next to me when I blacked out, ready to corroborate my story to the cops. When I came to, the phone was in my hand, but it was dead. Not even a dial tone. My boss was still right there, but he wasn't moving. He was standing up, but frozen. I looked at the clock again and it wasn't moving. The second hand was stuck on the 12. It was 9:33 exactly. The clock on a register computer screen wasn't moving either. My phone was frozen. There was even a customer on the register waiting for my boss to get him cigarettes. I'm betting that would have been his 5th pack on a day. I got the fuck out of there. Didn't lock up, didn't turn the lights out, and I'm sorry guys. I didn't grab security tapes to upload them on the internet. Believe me, that was the last thing on my mind. The gas station is on a major highway, and cars were parked all along it, except they weren't parked, they were frozen. The people inside were sitting still as wax statues. About halfway home, the time started up again. The static from the radio turned into music, like it's supposed to be. And from what I could tell by listening to the host talking between songs, no one noticed the time freeze, or whatever it was. I was the only one. Well, I'm sure Jeremy noticed as well. I still have no clue where he is, or what he's doing. I'm hiding in my room and calling the police again in the morning. I don't know if I ever got through them before, or if I did, whether they took me seriously. I'm scared for my life at this point. I'll update tomorrow if I can. Final update, 10:33 a.m. I finally fell asleep last night around 4. I have no idea how I did it. I guess exhaustion finally got the best of me. This morning I woke up to my phone ringing. It was my boss. He'd been calling me since about 6. He woke up when the time turned back on last night and immediately called the cops. They came by to see what was wrong and he told them everything. The police around here are all small-time guys. They were more concerned about the missing motor oil than anything. But my boss figured he would take it as long as he had their attention. They decided to go looking for Jeremy. Since they keep all employees' applications on file, it wasn't hard to find Jeremy's address. But the problem is that the address listed was an empty lot. It used to be a house there, but it burned down in 1993. Being a small town, almost everyone remembers that fire. A family of 4 used to live there way back when. Rumor has it that they had an estranged son who they never really talked about, but I can't say for sure if that's true. What I can say is true is that after an insurance investigation, the fire was ruled an arson. The entire house was soaked in oil and torched with a Molotov cocktail. The entire family was sleeping when it happened. None of them survived. They never caught the guy who did it. Rumor has it that when they tried to contact the estranged son, no one could find him. Anyway, my boss called me and told me this, and I freaked out. Then he asked me to come to the gas station. What, are you crazy? I said, but he assured me that the cops were there with him. Then he dropped the bomb. The FBI were also in town, and they were going to talk to me one way or another, so I might as well come in. It was about 7:15, and I wanted to go back to bed, but I figured I wouldn't be able to sleep much more anyway. So I went down. 4 men in suits greeted me and told me to have a seat. We went over everything 2 or 3 times until they got all the details down. I told them about Jeremy, the security tapes, last night at work, everything. Finally, after I finished, one of the agents said, "Oh Christ, we've got another one in our hands." Then they made me sign a bunch of papers saying I wouldn't tell anyone about what happened, so I can't say much more. I might be breaking the law just by posting this. So, I'm home now. I'm not sure what to do with myself. The agent's words when I told him the story are going to haunt me for the rest of my life. Whoa. Now I have more questions. What is Jeremy? Who or what is Jeremy? Where did he come from? How did he do this? And why? And I have theories. The house was burned down soaked in oil. Could he be the one who did this? Since he has the power to manipulate time. Maybe he used it to get the oil, went back in time, and burned down the house. And what do they mean by another one? There's more? What are they doing here? Where do they come from? I don't know. We'll never know. To me, this is what makes stories involving supernatural events so much more interesting. We don't always need answers. Sometimes the taste of curiosity, it's better than the taste of certainty. And if you're new here, this channel isn't just about internet mysteries. I also want to bring in stories from books I read, dive into artist journeys, and explore the meaning behind songs that hit deeper than they seem. So if you don't want to miss anything, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon, because tonight's story begins in a quiet rural town in Pennsylvania. The narrator works at a small isolated gas station, one of those places where not much happens and every day feels the same, until something doesn't.